Hold up a minute. Hold up. What's everybody? Spirit of 420 here because everything I do is SO20. No, you left the 4 out. That's actually being 420. So anyway, hope all of y'all are having a wonderful week. It's the end of the week. TGI fucking A Friday, right? And yesterday was Groundhog Day. And before I get into this totally, if it bothers some of you that I'm discussing Mandela, well, whatever. Mandela Effect now has been around for me. I have been dealing with it personally since about 2013. So, having said that, straight up, I am one of the many that I have alternate memories of how things used to be or what they were, right? When I was growing up or younger, or sometimes even just a few years ago. And I will say, I mean, literally I have hundreds, and already went down the rabbit hole, if you will, of investigating Mandela and all the good stuff that comes along with that. And if anybody ever wants to discuss it, we can. But really, this show isn't about Mandela Effect. This particular episode is about this one that I feel like I have absolutely discovered on my own, because I've looked it up and I haven't seen anything. And the simplest of terms, it's the fact that it used to be Groundhog's Day, both the holiday as well as the film. The film is where it started for me because I remember, I'm a movie buff. So when I say that, I'm not being, facetious or what's the word, lighthearted or anything less than truthful. Like, I love movies. I study them. I study, everything about them, including their covers, right? In the movie industry, the movie poster is a huge deal. And that's, I'll just start saying it, or start off by saying it like that. So you tend to really focus in on them, And let me just say, I remember very specifically the red print Groundhog's Day with an apostrophe S. Apostrophe S. I don't know if anybody has looked at it. It may seem like a small, insignificant detail to some of you, but almost all of our other holidays have it. And I haven't even, I'm just going to go over a few, but St. Patrick's apostrophe S Day, Valentine's Day, which is coming up here shortly, New Year's Eve, right? New Year's Day. Both of them have it. What's another one that President's Day. The only difference is it's S apostrophe because it's not only indicative of many presidents, right? Or of the possession presidents, but it's also the plural, right? Because it's all the presidents and it's their day, right? So, just to reiterate and look up other ones, man. Like, there's times when it's not because it makes sense. Like, for instance, Martin Luther King Day. That doesn't need to be Martin Luther King's Day. That fucking sounds stupid. And not only that, but you're saying 3 names. It's not, all the other ones, well, St. Valentine's and St. Patrick, right? Both of those are saints, but technically speaking, they sound more appropriate, with the apostrophe S. And so does Groundhog. I mean, think about it for a minute. Doesn't it just sound weird saying Groundhog Day? I have known it as Groundhog's Day all my life. And one of the first things I did when I thought about this was I went in and I did a search. Groundhogs with an apostrophe S day, not for the movie, just the term. The first thing I noticed is when I got to Groundhog's Day and I did not put an apostrophe in on purpose, I just put groundhogs, plural. The first choice, and I know y'all know what I'm talking about here, but Google starts to give you and feed you the shit, right? The first choice was groundhogs with an apostrophe S day, right? So I'm not the only one that remembers it being a possessive day for a groundhog. It's like the Groundhog's Day. And it just, all of a sudden, it was funny because my wife and I were watching it last night, watching the movie. We always do every February 2nd. I mean, it's just kind of tradition at this point. It's been around for fucking years. But we watch Groundhog's Day, and it's Groundhog's Day, just like that. It's how I've been saying it not my whole life, but ever since 94, which I believe is the year it came out. And it just baffles me because it doesn't make sense. And the other thing that happens, so when I told you I put in with an S and the apostrophe S, Groundhog's apostrophe S Day came up. So I clicked on that as the search. And what was really funny is immediately we came up as Groundhog Day, right? That's the official holiday, Groundhog Day. It doesn't bode well with me. I don't, all I can tell you is when you deal with something that other people are referring to as Mandela Effect, which is these alternate memories, it really has you questioning things like I only can tell you that I truly thank God that it's never just one person, it's never just me in this case, particularly with Mandela, that remembers it a certain way. Everybody else does. I after noticing it last night, this morning, I talked to my mother and I was like, what day was it yesterday? She's like, Groundhog's Day. Groundhog's Day. It's right there. Didn't even, no hesitation. Groundhog's Day. Now, I will say this. Funny enough, my mother thought it was Groundhog's plural day. But still, she remembered it with an S. Now, whether or not she remembered the apostrophe, to me, is not the important thing because she pronounced it, and you pronounce it the same way, apostrophe or not. Groundhog's Day, Groundhog's Day. You pronounce it the same way. That's what she remembers hearing her whole life, and what she remembers knowing her whole life is that we're celebrating Groundhog's Day. She just thought it was plural because, and I didn't even know this. I always thought that, like, to me, how could you have anything but one groundhog do the reading? But apparently there's multiples. Well, what if 3 see their shadow and 4 don't? What the fuck is the outcome? Like, and winter is all of a sudden different. Like, let's say that's just stupid. And no offense to my mother, I think it's stupid that you have that holiday and base it on anything other than one groundhog, because then you have misreadings. There's not 15 fucking almanacs. There's one almanac that gives us the forecast for the next year. One fucking little groundhog comes up and looks see shadow. Be done with it. Fuck off. Funny enough, I didn't even see. I meant to look it up. Isn't that funny? Let's just look it up real quick because I didn't even see did the groundhog see its fucking shadow yesterday. Did the groundhog see its shadow 2023? Puxatony, motherfucking Phil. I don't want images. The famous Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow Thursday in Pennsylvania, meaning 6 more months. However, Staten Island Chuck did not, signaling an early spring. There's the exact, what the fuck, dude? And fuck you, Chuck. Staten Island. To me, there's one groundhog, and it's wherever the hell it started, and it's his or hers, whatever. It's a male or female. I'm assuming Phil is an actual male, but they have been known to lie to us about that before as well. So all I know is it's that Groundhog's Day to come out and either see its fucking shadow or not, which it's not even, it doesn't, the whole thing is so ludicrous anyway, right? But still, back to the whole point. Who out there remembers it like I do with an S, whether an apostrophe or not? Do you remember it having an S as in Groundhog's Day, right? I would be curious to know, because I can't be the only one that thinks that. And I put, by the way, I put number 333, and that really messed with both my mother and my wife by putting that, because they thought it was different things. All I was saying is this is probably around, and I haven't counted them up. I don't have a list running. Let me just say that right now. I do not have a list. And when I say in counting is I know I've read lists that match more than 250, and I have found even more than that myself, probably well into 100 that I have experienced on my own in my own life. What I call the personal Mandela experiences, right? They're the ones that everybody remembers, but then there's things that just you and your family, like you remember your wife doing something all the time, and then all of a sudden she doesn't do that anymore, or vice versa. She never did something, all of a sudden does it all the time now, right? And for her, it's always been that way. Those are the kind of, so for me, I mean, literally probably closer to 350, but I just thought it was a nice, good number. It reminded me of my childhood, and it also kind of reminded me of Skylar. So, but my first address was a 333 Creighton Drive. Man, you go back to that fucking neighborhood and it's a dump. That's in South Cackle-Cack. For those of y'all who don't know where that is, you can look it up. But those were the days, you know, riding around on a BMX, jumping hills that were twice the height of you, and not even thinking about it, right? We just did it. And we didn't worry about it if there were any groundhogs around. Actually, where we were, it was more about frog legs. Like we would go frogging and try to find some big ass fresh motherfucking bees. There's a ton of them. Let me just say, South Carolina, I think, is pretty. Now you can say either one, famous or infamous for their frog legs. So I don't knock it until you try it. That's all I got to say. If you like frog leg, you probably, or if you like chicken wings, probably dig a frog leg. There you go. But I wasn't going to talk for very long tonight. I really just wanted to get that off my chest because I was sitting there and I was like, this is just weird. And so I looked around, by the way, and there is one other person wrote something about Groundhog's Day, and it's funny. Groundhog Day, excuse me. Although in their description, they even said groundhogs with an apostrophe S, which most people do. It's just, I don't understand it. But someone said there was a scene that was no longer in it, and that's normal. I think I even remember seeing the same scene, but you're not going to see it every single time, and that's probably now on some special director's cut that's not out. There's just the one. I mean, almost every single movie, if y'all don't know this is a fact. They have the theatrical release, they have the director's cut, they have maybe an alternate cut with an alternate ending, then they have prime time cuts, and they still do this because any station that's running commercials, they will recut this movie. And many times, like let's say a movie, I'm just giving you for instance, but let's say a movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes long, right? And they want to put 45 minutes of commercials in there and run the movie for 3 hours, and they don't want to do the extra commercial time. They can usually find extra footage from the original film. There's also many times too that they want to keep the same running time, and they know that to cut like certain cuts that they're going to make to like take it from a R rating or an NC-17 that was in the theaters to a PG rating that is what it needs to be on broadcast television. Say they cut 10 minutes, but then they add back 10 minutes of uncut footage or originally cut footage, excuse me, so that they get that same running time back. All that kind of shit happens all the time. So that's, those type things to me don't really constitute Mandela. Mandela effect, because you can usually trace those, by the way. And go back and find it. It's when something has changed and the foundation says it's one way and always has been, yet not everybody else's, but a huge number of people's memory is the opposite. I'll give you the one that still messes with me all the time, just because I'm a huge Star Wars fan and I'm always watching Star Wars with my kids, whether it's the 22-year-old or the 8-year-old. And there's two major ones with Star Wars. For those of you who know the films, you probably already know these. But number one is C-3PO's silver leg. And number two is the fact that Darth Vader said, "No, I am your father," instead of "Luke, I am your father." Again, I am a movie buff. And I remember watching, when I first started studying Mandela, I remember watching a video where I was watching Empire Strikes Back, right? And he goes, "No, and the dude, I thought he was going to lose his shit, dude. It was hysterical, and there's some more. I'm not going to go into this. It's not meant to be about that. I was only talking about this one because it still messes with me today. I watch it and everything, and it's pathetic. But like even CP3O minifig Lego has a little, like one side is silver and it's horribly done. Like instead of, I think it's hysterical. And I think it shows you that they never plan on, like the way that he is in the movies, like that whole leg, that whole piece of plastic that represents that leg should be a different color, right? But instead, they just put a little sticker on there so that it's got silver electronics, which is just horrible. It's pathetic. Paw freaking pathetic. Now I know why they call you Paul. Nah, I really can't think of anything else. We'll keep it short. It's Friday night. I got things to do, movies to watch, and probably not any movies tonight. Maybe just hang out with my wife. It is Friday night, right? Funny enough, I just happen to know that she just took a shower. So maybe it's that kind of Friday, right? Regardless, to blaze or not to blaze, there is no question. There is only to get high, to get by in this world. So have a wonderful evening. I will be back for sure on Tuesday, right? Because Tuesday is the 7th. But I may end up doing a little special deal in between now and then. I told you I want to read this one to y'all because I think you'll absolutely get a chuckle or 5 out of it, right? But yeah, it's a fun one. This is like one of the best all-time toilet books that I've ever gotten. Absolutely, I mean by far. So anyway, nobody commented, but I'm just curious. Maybe you can tell me later. Does anybody else remember it being with an S? I'm just curious if I'm the only one or if other people remember it having an S other than just myself and my wife and my mama. So anyway, have a beautiful evening. Have a blessed evening. Have a blessed weekend. I am going to go see, I will tell you this. I am going to go see Cabin, Knock at the Cabin, M. Night Shyamalan, I'm going to see that tomorrow, and I'm also going to see, my wife and I are doing a double feature. It's Saturday, so why not? What is it? Missing. So going to see those two. So I will have a Flick Deck investigation for sure on Tuesday. Maybe even earlier. We'll see. Just depends. So again, to blaze or not to blaze, there is no question. There is only to get high, to get by. Have a wonderful evening, all of you folks. I myself am going to go fly high.
You can't have my phone number unless we running up the digits. Let me meditate, I just need a couple minutes. Tryna lowball me, my cojones to the big ass. Bitch, I get high. I ain't looking at the clock.